My gambling-addicted father pushed me off the balcony, and I happened to land on my grandmother, who had just returned home from buying groceries. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in the hospital for a prenatal checkup. My young aunt and second aunt stood by my side, eagerly calling me Mom. I had transmigrated into my grandmother's body. Then what's in my belly is my dad. The doctor held the prenatal checkup results, beaming with a smile. The baby is very healthy, already 4 months along. I breathed a sigh of relief. Good, there's still time, doctor, let's terminate it. Hearing my words, everyone was startled. My husband, who was once my grandfather, grabbed my hair and couldn't help but slap me several times in the hospital. Family member, this is a hospital. If you lay another hand on her, we'll call the police. Doctors and nurses rushed in to stop him. I am grateful to them, but I also find them somewhat unnecessary. It would be better to let him continue beating me until I'm a scary, so as to avoid giving birth to a beast. My father-in-law and mother-in-law, that is, my former great-grandfather and great-grandmother, quickly stepped in to stop him. Lanji is carrying a boy in her belly. You can't hit her. That's right. Let's take her back and talk some sense into her first. And so, I was forcibly taken back home, all the way. I was mentally preparing myself. I am my grandmother Zhang Lanji. Zhang Lanji is me. There is no Qian in this world anymore. No me. When I got home, I realized that what they meant by persuading was tying me up. I was tied up in the room for over 3 months, eating, drinking, relieving myself, and sleeping all in that same room. My great-grandparents would come in once a week to change my bedpan, but as for my so-called husband, he never showed up even once. They tried to persuade me. Lanji, don't blame us. You keep insisting on getting rid of the baby, but that's just not acceptable. This one is a boy. You've already given birth to 2 girls. This baby must be born. I was so hungry that my face turned sallow and my body ached all over. Even so, my great-grandmother still grumbled at me. What a pig's appetite. You've already eaten 13 of my pumpkins. I carefully calculated my age. Despite being pregnant with my 3rd child, I was actually only 20 years old. I was only 16 when I gave birth to my eldest daughter. It turns out my grandmother suffered such hardships in her youth, but that still didn't stop her from later abusing me and my mother. Although I'm feeling terrible now, I'll be fine in a few days, because my husband, that is, my grandfather from my past life, is about to die. In my past life, I heard my grandmother talk about this. When she was 7 months pregnant with my father, the village was building roads, and pits were dug everywhere. But my grandfather often went to work in the county town and didn't come back often, so he didn't know about it. Later, one night, my grandfather was going to a friend's house to play cards, and my grandmother specifically reminded him that there was a pit on the way, so he avoided it. My grandmother often brings this up, feeling that she once saved my grandfather's life. This time, I won't remind him. Great-grandpa and great-grandma certainly won't either. They go to bed as soon as it gets dark and have no idea that my grandpa ever went out. Finally, the day arrived, and a villager shouted from outside the door, Zhang Lanji, come out quickly, your man has fallen into the ditch. Grandpa and grandma drowsily put on their clothes, while I, bound all over with ropes, couldn't move a muscle. It wasn't until they were wailing and crying that someone finally asked about me. Where is Lanji? Her own husband is dead, and she's not even coming out to see. After a while, oh my goodness, those damned beasts of the Qi family, how could they tie a pregnant woman to the bed? When the villagers dragged me out, my legs were so stiff I couldn't even bend them. It wasn't until I saw my grandfather's body covered with a white cloth in the yard that I let out a fake, exaggerated wail. Oh dear, my husband, how could you just leave like that? I buried my face in my knees, almost unable to hold back my laughter. In my previous life, my grandfather lived into his 60s and caused us no end of trouble. He took all the family's money to gamble, and in his later years, he even bought a house for a nanny, which infuriated my eldest aunt so much that she never returned home. Once, he even touched my mother with those dirty hands. This time he's gone early, so I guess my life will be much easier from now on. More than 2 months later, I gave birth. It was a boy, with eyes and eyebrows exactly like my father's. What a nuisance. I didn't even want to breastfeed him. My great-grandparents couldn't do anything about me either. Now all the neighbors knew they had tied me up, and they would come to the house from time to time to ask if I was there. The 2 of them didn't dare take extreme measures against me anymore, but just as one wave settled, another rose. My second grandfather came to take back the house. Lanji, don't blame us for being heartless. My brother is already dead. And you never even got a marriage certificate with him. You have no right to keep living in his house. I turned to look at my grandfather and grandmother, Mom and Dad. What do you mean? Are you also trying to drive me away? They seemed a bit afraid to look at me, but they had no choice but to speak up for their second son. After all, the elderly couple still relied on their second son to support them in their old age. Lanji, just go quietly and take the 2 girls you gave birth to with you. That won't do. I gave birth to 3 children. If we go, we all go together. Yazu can't go with you. He's the eldest son and grandson. Grandpa and Grandma immediately bristled with anger. Get lost. Who said his name is Yazu? His name is Chishin, and I chose it. Just after I finished my postpartum confinement, I was driven out of the house, carrying large and small bags. Before leaving, I extorted a large sum of money from them, threatening to throw myself on the ground and throw a tantrum if they refused. Everyone, come and see. I worked so hard to give birth to a son for their family, and now they want to take the lives of me and my children. Second, Grandpa wanted to settle the matter peacefully, so he gritted his teeth and paid up. Moreover, since he had a son of his own, he didn't want to raise his older brother's children, so he let me take all 3 kids away. I held my 4-year-old aunt with my left hand, my 2-year-old aunt with my right hand, and carried my father, who was less than a month old, on my back. We set off on the grand journey to the county town. Along the way, we hitched rides on donkey carts whenever possible. When there were none, we walked on foot. By the time we reached the county town, not only had we not gone hungry, but we even had a bit more dry rations left. It was the villagers who couldn't bear to see me suffer, so they would stuff things into my arms whenever they saw me along the way. Lanji, you've had it hard. It's not hard. My good days are yet to come. Leaving the bizarre and unreasonable Chi family, my good days have only just begun. Upon arriving in the county town, I was busy renting a place, setting up a stall, and stocking up on goods. My eldest aunt, only 4 years old, was busy with household chores. She would cook for my second aunt, feed my father, and even bring me meals on the street during lunch and dinner. Toddling along on her short legs, I watched her little body, barely a meter tall, carrying a lunchbox to find me on the street, and in her haste, she even took a tumble. I sprang to my feet, but she quickly got up. I'm fine, Mom. Your food didn't spill. Silly child. I was afraid you might get hurt. Don't worry, Mom. I'm a good kid. Grandpa Earth was just playing a joke on me. I wiped the dirt off her face and was about to hug her when she hurriedly ran away. Mom, I have to go now. My younger siblings are still at home. Watching her small figure fade into the distance, my nose tingled with emotion, and I lowered my head to take a few bites of my meal. What a good kid. I just hope she doesn't end up with a troublemaker in the future. In my previous life, my eldest aunt was deceived by a scoundrel. Although she later got divorced, she was left utterly devastated. In this life, I must keep a close watch on her. Another 6 or 7 years passed, and my business grew from a street-side stall to a shop spanning dozens of square meters. I even bought a 3-bedroom apartment in the county town. Life was truly getting better day by day. Just when I was at my happiest, my dad leaned his face in. Over the past few months, I noticed the money in the family piggy bank was getting less and less. After searching through my eldest aunt's and second aunt's drawers, I set my sights on my dad. Yes, I stole it. My grandparents came to see me. They said I'm a descendant of the Chi family, and sooner or later I'll have to return to Chi family village. The money they gave me now is for me to spend. I didn't hesitate. I slapped him so hard he flew 2 meters away. Tell me, how much did you steal? Not much. Tears welled up in his eyes. Mom, why did you hit me? You gave hundreds to my older sisters for school, and I can't even take a few dozen. Yes. Absolutely not. If you steal a needle as a child, you'll grow up to kill people. I pulled out the clothes hanger and swung it left and right, making him cry out for his mother. When I got tired, I handed the clothes hanger to my aunt and let her continue the beating. Mom, I don't need this. My aunt took off her slippers and charged straight at him. After that, no money ever went missing from our house again. But the good times didn't last long. Our neighbor came knocking. He said his puppy had a broken leg, and it was my dad who stepped on it. I picked up the clothes hanger again and poked it at my dad's face. Speak, why did you bully the neighbor's puppy? I just think it's ugly, with a ridiculous name like Teddy. So ugly. Even if it's ugly, you can't step on its leg. The neighbor was still standing nearby and couldn't help but give me a couple of nudges. It's not ugly. After getting another beating, my dad behaved for a few more days. But I really didn't expect him to still be able to stir up trouble. Because of the dog stepping incident last time, he developed a grudge against the neighbor next door. Taking advantage of their inattention, he scooped all their goldfish out of the tank and killed them. How outrageous. I finally understand what it means for genes to be powerful. Even though I removed my father from his past environment, the things deeply ingrained in his bones are hard to change. He is becoming more and more like my grandfather, selfish and violent. This time, I didn't hit him. I called the police directly. The police officer looked at him, who was only 7 years old, and felt quite troubled. Ma'am, this is a family matter. Intentionally damaging someone else's property is a crime. It's not really that serious. I don't care. Take him away. I can't handle him anymore. Perhaps the authority of the police uniform still held some weight. Or maybe my dad genuinely felt that I didn't want him anymore, but he absolutely refused to leave. He knelt down to apologize to me, then apologized to the neighbors, and in the end, he even kowtowed twice to the police. He was truly scared. Another 5 years passed, and the eldest aunt was in her first year of high school. She performed very well academically, consistently ranking at the top. The second aunt was in her second year of junior high, with average grades. But at least she could steadily get into high school. Only my dad was hopelessly incompetent. Although he had stopped stealing and fighting, his dislike for studying was something that couldn't be forced. I told him to just finish middle school and then join the military, and he was so excited he nearly jumped through the roof. With memories from my past life, I knew it would sell better and make more money. After that, I expanded my shop to 6 locations. And I didn't even have to go to the store every day. I simply hired professional managers to handle everything. As the good days grew more and more prosperous, I almost forgot about the calamity that was supposed to befall my aunt. The yellow-haired guy came. During the summer vacation between my first and second year of high school, I came home early from the shop. As soon as I entered the house, I heard noises coming from my room. I quietly picked up the broom by the door and, bending over, slipped inside. Through the crack in the bedroom door, I caught sight of my aunt's figure. She was rummaging through the drawers and cabinets, and her eyes finally settled on a locked box as she began to fiddle with it. I entered the room softly and suddenly let out a shout. "What are you looking for, Auntie? Let me help you find it." Auntie was so startled that her legs gave way, and she knelt down on the spot. Mom, why are you back?" From her evasive expression, I could tell with a quick calculation that something was seriously wrong, but I remained calm on the surface. "Eldest daughter, what are you trying to do?" "I'm not doing anything. That box contains our family's household registration booklet. Are you planning to elope with someone?" As soon as these words were spoken, my aunt's face turned pale. "Mom, please, let us be together." I rubbed my forehead, truly unable to understand how she could have met a delinquent when her high school was a boarding school. "Big girl, you're only 17. Even if you steal the household register, you can't marry him. It's okay, I can wait. Another 3 years. Go to hell." I swallowed the curse back down and took a few deep breaths. "Diane, you didn't tell me anything and just stole the household register. Were you afraid I wouldn't agree if I found out?" "Mom, how did you know?" "I also know that your boyfriend has yellow hair." Auntie's eyes widened. "Mom, how do you know that too?" "All right, you want to get married, right?" Mom agrees. "What? Marriage isn't just about a household registration booklet. Tell him to arrange a meeting. I'll discuss the wedding with his parents." My aunt was so excited that she couldn't calm down for a long time. She slapped herself to realize it was real. "Oh my God, thank you, Mom. I'll have him call his parents right away." A few days later, the blonde guy brought his parents along. The place they chose was a genuine Anhui beef noodle shop. I glanced at the steaming bowl of noodles wrapped in a plastic bag and didn't take a single bite. I spoke first. "Since we're getting married, my daughter is still young, not yet of legal marriage age. We'll have to wait 3 years. Can your family wait?" The blonde guy and his parents quickly nodded. I continued, "But these 3 years won't be a free wait. It's like your family is making a reservation, an engagement. Understand?" "Understood. There are proper etiquette for engagements. The betrothal gifts and the 3 gold items must be prepared. Within these 3 years, you must buy a house for your son. I cannot let my daughter live in a rented place after marriage." The expressions of the 3 people across suddenly changed. I turned to look at my aunt. Do you think there's anything wrong with what Mom said?" "Mom, no problem. That's how other families handle marrying off their daughters too. If there's no problem, then who are they putting on those 3 sour faces for?" At that moment, Auntie finally noticed the expressions on the faces of the 3 people across from her. It was the blonde who spoke first. "No dowry, but I'm still a virgin. Isn't that worth more than any dowry?" I sneered. "You say you're a virgin, so you are. How can you prove it? Take off your pants and let me check right now." He cleared his throat awkwardly. "As for the 3 golds, would copper work? It symbolizes unity and cooperation. Why don't you just give a soda can ring instead, symbolizing environmental protection?" "Hey, that's right, that could work too." Before I could even speak, my aunt's face had already turned sour to the extreme. The blonde guy continued, "Well, about the house, my family doesn't have one, but your family does. Right, just give us one, and throw in a storefront too, that can serve as the dowry. Isn't that perfect?" Finally, my aunt couldn't hold back any longer. "Wang Tai, you scoundrel, you're trying to take advantage of our family. How am I a jerk? Which of your mom's demands haven't I met?" The blonde guy's parents chimed in from the side. Exactly. My aunt also had a quick temper. Having taken on responsibilities early in life, she was decisive and unwavering. She immediately flipped the table. Several bowls of noodles spilled onto the blonde guy and his parents, completely enraging him. He immediately tried to get physical, so I shouted toward the door, and my second aunt and my dad, who had been waiting outside, rushed in with sticks. Before the punk could even beg for mercy, my dad had already pinned him to the ground. Dare to bully my sister? How many lives do you have? The matter ended perfectly in the midst of the chaos. On the way home, my eldest aunt and second aunt each took one of my arms, while my father slung the stick over his shoulder, resting his arms on both ends, and walked ahead of us. That year, pirated discs were rampant. The song A Lifetime of Love started playing on the street. In the bitter sea, love and hate surge. In this world, it's hard to escape fate. We met, yet we cannot draw near, or perhaps I should believe it's destiny. I pinched my aunt's arm. Dia, destiny is something you can't rush. You grew up without a father, so you think a man's love is something rare, but in reality, it's just like this for now, and there will be more opportunities in the future. My eldest aunt, with tears in her eyes, repeatedly vowed to focus on her studies from then on. She wanted to go to college and earn more money in the future to support me. And what about my carefree second aunt? She was pointing at my father's back, laughing out loud. Mom, big sister. Look quickly, does little brother look like the great sage? Exactly, we both exclaimed in unison. It seems that my life after rebirth was destined to be anything but peaceful. 2 more years passed, and I went bankrupt. Mudslides and floods came one after another, washing away my shop and all my goods. After the disaster, I was left with nothing but a house. My aunt got into Tsinghua or Peking University, but she refused to continue her studies no matter what. It was the first and only time I ever slapped her. Nonsense. Ask anyone in the city whose child can get into Tsinghua or Peking University. Mom, we have no money left. It's okay, I still have a house. Mom, my aunt was finally convinced by me and obediently went to school. Mom, you don't need to send me money. I'll work part-time to support my studies, she said before leaving. I'll work hard at my part-time job. So don't let my younger siblings suffer. And don't let yourself suffer either. On the northbound green train, Auntie stuck her head out of the small window. Mom, I'll come back to pick you up and take you to the capital to watch the flag-raising ceremony. No need, Mom has seen it. What? How have you seen it? I watched it when I was a kid, and I even saw the military parade. I saw it on a big color TV. My final answer was carried away by the wind that swept over me, and my aunt didn't hear it, wiping away my tears. I wearily returned home and dug an envelope out from between the sofa cushions. Inside was the tuition money I had scraped together for my aunt. She hadn't taken a single cent with her. She had left it all for me. I cried while counting the money, the silly child. But as I counted, something fell off. Why was there an extra stack? No, where is my second aunt? Suddenly, a sharp headache hit me, and I struggled to recall memories from my past life. In my memory, besides a grandfather who loved playing cards, a grandmother who always made sarcastic remarks, and my parents, there was only my eldest aunt who came back once a year for the new year. I never had a second aunt. No, I do have a second aunt. I've seen photos in the old album where a girl with a very sweet smile was standing between my eldest aunt and my father, but how come I've never seen her? Suddenly, I seemed to understand something and quickly knocked on the neighbor's door. What's up, girl? Have you seen my area? I saw her go out this morning, and it seemed she was talking with an old lady for a while. Suddenly, the neighbor looked as if struck by lightning. Oh no, that old lady is a human trafficker. On my way to the police station, I was so frantic that I lost one of my shoes. My second aunt is 17 this year, just at the best age. If she's sold into the mountains, her life will be ruined. The police took my statement and told me to go home and wait. But how could I possibly wait? I brought my dad back from the military school, and as soon as he heard about my second aunt, he became anxious too, and we went around the streets asking people together. Finally, we got a clue from someone. Your second daughter, she went to Lijia village. By the time we rushed to Lijia village, we saw her walking side by side with a strange man. I rushed forward and pulled my second aunt aside. Second daughter, where have you been? When second aunt saw my dad and me, tears suddenly fell from her eyes. Mom, you shouldn't have come to find me. I've sold myself, and I've given all the money to you. As she spoke, she pushed me, but I didn't budge an inch. Mom, please go, take my brother and leave. Big sister needs money for school. I'm not good at studying, and I'm just wasting food at home. The family needs money. Let me do my part. I remained completely still. Finally, I reached out and tightly embraced my second aunt. Come on, let's go home with Mom. But as soon as we started to move, the man next to my second aunt blocked our way with an arm. Where do you think you're going? She's my wife. I paid for her. I took out the stack of money from my pocket and shoved it into the man's hand. Here's all the money. Take it back. Don't you dare lay a hand on my daughter again. What's the reasoning? The deal is done. Don't leave. You're not allowed to go. My dad picked up a stone from the ground and was about to hit someone, but several villagers quickly rushed over to stop him. What nonsense. No one dares to bully a member of the Lee family in our Lee village. But the next second, they stopped their bluster, because the cleaver in my hand was gleaming brightly. That day, I went crazy. Swinging the knife around wildly, I swung at anyone who came near. Although I didn't hit anyone, I scared those people quite a bit, including my second aunt and my dad. They all froze on the spot, unsure whether to cry or laugh. In the end, they ended up cursing a few times without really understanding what was going on. Probably seeing how fierce our family was, the people of Chijia village decided to swallow their losses, as they hadn't actually lost any money, and just let it go. I pulled my second aunt back, with my father following behind, occasionally shooting deadly glares at the crowd. It wasn't until we entered the house that the three of us finally couldn't hold back, huddling together and crying, "Arya, are you a fool? Who sells themselves like that? Second sister, haven't you studied math? You just sold yourself for 500 yuan, what can that even do? Mom, I'm sorry. Brother, shut up." I raised my hand and gave each of them a flick on the forehead. "Both of you, shut up. Let's just let this matter pass. Don't tell your eldest sister about it, or she'll start talking about dropping out of school again. I'm still young, and there are plenty of opportunities to start over. Second daughter, study hard. Third fatty, serve well in the military. Our family's good days are still ahead." They both nodded firmly. From this incident, I completely understood. The trials in a person's life are finite. Being reborn once won't stop them from coming, but it can change the way problems are solved and the outcomes. Just like my second aunt, in my previous life, I knew of her existence but never met her because she was sold off very early. This time, what's different is that I brought her back, and this calamity has passed. Another 4 years passed, and my business grew better and better. Although the road was bumpy, as long as you dare to start over, it's never too late. My eldest aunt has also graduated. She stayed in the capital and joined a foreign-funded company, sending money home every month. Although my second aunt wasn't good at studying, she had a great mind for business. After graduating from high school and not getting into university, she stayed by my side to help manage the business. As for my dad, he's going to be promoted after the new year. At this moment, I feel truly happy. In my previous life, I lived in a chaotic family, with a gambling-addicted grandfather and father, a grandmother who favored boys over girls, and a weak mother. I never felt happy for a single day. At the end of my life, my father grabbed me by the neck and dangled me over the balcony, trying to force my mother to give him money for gambling. That day, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he was utterly insane, but it wasn't that my mother was unwilling to give, she simply had no money left. Even if she had knelt and kowtowed, she couldn't have made my father believe her. My father, furious and exasperated, let go of his grip, and I fell straight down, just in time to crush my grandmother, who had just returned from buying groceries. Thinking of this, I secretly lit a stick of incense for my grandmother. Thankfully, she obediently went off to be reborn, and I lived a fulfilling life in her place. But then, joy turned to sorrow. My father returned from the army, bringing a girl with him. When I took a closer look at the girl's face, I nearly fainted. This. Isn't this my mom? No, I don't agree. Why, Mom, Xiaolian and I are truly in love. Even true love won't do. You'll end up hurting her in the future. My dad was stunned. He thought our family was wealthier and that I looked down on his girlfriend, but it turned out I was looking down on him. Mom, how could I possibly harm her? My dad is also stubborn. Seeing that I wouldn't budge, he grabbed the girl and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. As they left, my mom gave me a few pitiful glances, probably thinking of me as the wicked mother-in-law. Evil is evil, I don't care. In my previous life, my mother wasted half her life, and in middle age, she had to endure the pain of losing her daughter. I was only 14 when I died, and my mother's hair turned white overnight, crying and shouting not to let anyone bury me. I was floating in the air watching her cry one moment, laugh the next, and then slap her own face hard. Her grief, remorse, and longing for liberation at that time were all witnessed by me firsthand. Oh my God, not again. Unfortunately, a person's fate is predetermined. When they stood before me again, I saw my mother's slightly swollen belly and my father's look of righteous confidence. Mom, we've already cooked the rice, and you're about to become a grandmother. I remained silent for a moment, then picked up the little phone and called my second aunt. Second aunt, Mom's back hasn't been great lately. If you're going to hit your brother, you'd better do it soon. My dad has built up a lot of muscle from years in the military, but under my second aunt's bloodline pressure, he still howled and scrambled away. Mom, Xiaolian is already pregnant. Even if you beat me to death, we still have to get married, I know, but if I don't give you this beating, I won't be able to sleep tonight. My mom was standing by, unsure whether to intervene or not, but she couldn't bear to see me get hurt. She could only kneel down and cry to me, "Auntie, we truly love each other. Please, just let us be together." I asked her, "Do you think he truly loves you?" She nodded. "Foolish girl. If a man truly loved you, how could he let you get pregnant before marriage? If he truly loved you, he would care about your reputation and your health. And look at how he's flaunting his power over me now. He's using your pregnancy to threaten me. You and the child are nothing more than convenient tools to him." My father blocked my second aunt's stick with both hands. "Mom, what are you saying? This is sowing discord." Did I sow discord? Your household registration was moved to the military district long ago. If you really wanted to get married, would you need my approval? It seemed to have struck a chord in his heart. My father was momentarily stunned, and Xiaolian was also stunned. I continued, "All this fuss you're making is just to get something from me in the name of marriage, money or a house, that's all." "Mom, I don't." I took a stack of money from the suitcase and stuffed it into Xiaolian's hand. "Everyone has their own fate. You have your choices and your trials. This is all I can do to help. This money is my wedding gift to you both, and it's also the severance pay for the bond between him and me as mother and son." Hearing this, my dad grew anxious. "Mom, what are you doing? Take this money. It should be enough for you both until the child is born. You have your own salary too, so from now on, live your own life." "Mom, are you serious?" I waved my hand, and my second aunt drove the two of them out. It was destined that I would see my mother again. By then, she was already over 8 months pregnant. She found me and knelt at the door. "Auntie, please save him. He's gambled away all his money. The army has discharged him, and now his creditors have taken him. They said if he doesn't repay the debt, they'll cut off one of his arms." I remained expressionless, just watching her coldly. "Auntie, I know you're angry that he's so useless, but he is your own son after all." "What do you mean by favorite son? He's my father, my living father. A scumbag father who has lived 2 lifetimes and still hasn't amounted to anything. I thought he had been reformed when he was young. After all, I never hesitated to educate him with both kindness and authority, but he still turned out like this. Where is he?" I sighed. "I'll go save him." I followed my mother to find the creditor and paid him back the money. The bearded man with half-back tattoos took the money, then gave me a deep look. "Big sister, let me give you a friendly reminder. If you help him pay off his debts this time, you'll probably have to do it for the rest of your life. I've seen plenty of people like him, they never change." "I know. As the old saying goes, a doting mother often spoils the child." "How do you know I'm a doting mother?" I looked at him with a faint smile. "Brother, he has already repaid what he owed you, but what he owes me, I'll trouble you to help collect it." "Collect what?" "Break his arm for me." The bearded man and the thugs behind him were all taken aback, seeing the determination in my eyes. They realized I wasn't joking. The bearded man was also a man of action. He gave a signal with his eyes to the back, and a few of his underlings immediately pinned my father down. No matter how much my father cried and struggled, the bearded man picked up a stick and struck with full force, breaking my father's arm. My father fainted on the spot. The bearded man stepped on the cigarette but to put it out and smiled at me. "Sis, you're quite the character." After that, I left my dad at the hospital and never went to see him again. Another month or so later, my mom gave birth to a daughter, named Qian. By the bedside, my mother pursed her lips, not daring to look at me, afraid that I would resent her for giving birth to a girl. "Auntie, this little girl is so adorable. She looks just like me." Her tears almost fell. "Don't cry. It's not good for your health to cry right after giving birth. Once you've recovered, you can come home to live with the child." "Auntie, can I call you Mom?" "No." I felt awkward, but I said, "You two haven't registered your marriage, let alone held a wedding, so calling me Mom isn't appropriate, but I do acknowledge you as my daughter-in-law." My mother lowered her head and smiled. When the child was 6 months old, we finally noticed something unusual about him. Apart from the moment he was born, he never cried again after that. Unlike other children who cry and laugh, she spends almost all her time staring blankly at the ceiling. My mother was anxious and took the child everywhere seeking medical help, with even my eldest and second aunts helping her find doctors. I was the only one in the family who advised her to let it go, because I knew what was going on. This child is my true physical body, and as long as I am still here, her soul cannot return. My aunts didn't understand and couldn't help but ask me, "Mom, why are you stopping my sister-in-law from treating the child? The child isn't sick, he's just lost his soul." "Then let's call back his soul. I'll go invite the shaman. If she gains a soul, I will die. Are you willing to accept that?" "Mom, what nonsense are you talking?" After seeking medical help multiple times without success, my mother and the others gradually gave up. After all, aside from not speaking and ignoring people, the child was quite well behaved in daily life. clothes come to hand, food comes to mouth, like a living puppet, without a temper. During this time, my father came back a few times. His arm had long since healed, and aside from checking on the child and leaving a stack of money, he didn't do much else when he came home. When the child was 5 years old, my father walked through the door carrying large and small bags. Seeing that none of us paid him any attention, he set down his things on his own and stood in the living room. Suddenly, he fell to his knees before me. Mom, I was wrong. The friend who took me gambling 5 years ago was hacked to death, and the creditors even went to his family to demand money, completely destroying their home. Mom, if only I hadn't gambled so much. My mother, holding the child, stood by, sobbing uncontrollably. My eldest aunt and second aunt, seeing that I was unresponsive, didn't dare to step forward and say anything. For a moment, the house fell into a deep silence. They don't know that in just a few minutes, I replayed the scenes from my previous life in my mind. Back then, the panic of falling from a building and the pain upon landing. After more than 20 years, I had almost forgotten. I was lost in my memories until my father's voice rang out again. Mom, please give me a chance. Get up, Mom. You're not mad at me anymore. I'm tired. After that, my dad and my mom moved out together. In this life, they went on to live their own lives, and I no longer interfered. According to my second aunt, my father truly changed for the better. He worked hard to earn money, kept my mother well fed and healthy, and was good to the children as well. I smiled without saying a word. In the blink of an eye, several more years passed, and my eldest aunt returned with a tall foreign man. She is now confident and poised, holding her lover's hand as she bids me farewell. Mom, James and I are going to his country first to have our wedding, and we'll be back next month for the Chinese-style ceremony. All right, Mom, I'm getting older and more cautious. James says it's okay if we don't have children. We both want to focus on our careers. You two decide your own matters. I was smiling the whole time. And the more I looked at my second uncle, the more I liked him. He looked so much like Johnny Depp. My second aunt also found a good match, and the wedding day was very lively, with even my parents bringing their children to congratulate her. The little girl was still a bit dazed and simple-minded, not fond of talking. When others teased her, she didn't react at all, not even blinking her eyes. Only when she sees me does she smile. As long as I am around, her little hand always rests on me. Revealing a silly grin, my mother said, "This child truly has a special bond with her grandparent," and I said, "She is me." A few more years passed, and the child grew to 14 years old, the very age at which I had passed away in my previous life. One day, I suddenly had a bad feeling, always thinking that something was going to happen at my parents' house. When I rushed to the downstairs of their house, I saw a little girl who looked almost exactly like my previous life climbing over the balcony. I shouted, but she didn't hear me at all. By the time my parents hurried over from the kitchen, she had already fallen from the building. In just an instant, I caught her. In that same instant, I felt as if every bone in my body had shattered. My vision went dark, and I passed out. When I woke up, I was already in a hospital bed, my eldest aunt and her foreign husband, my second aunt with her husband and child, and my parents holding my bewildered daughter. They were all standing by my bedside, their faces streaked with tears. "Mom, I know my time has come." When I raised my trembling hand, they all wanted to rush forward to catch me, but my eyes were fixed only on that 14-year-old girl. That girl, who had always been considered foolish, seemed to be summoned as she quickly walked up to me and took my hand. She seemed to want to make a sound. I gently closed my eyes. "Grandma, the little girl is called Qian, and she spoke her first words in 14 years. I'm back. Zhang Lanji is gone. Now I am Qian. I have returned to the age of 14, quietly watching the elders gathered around Grandma's hospital bed, crying uncontrollably. On that bed, there were decades of my life that I had walked through. They gave Grandma a grand funeral, and at her memorial service, I listened to what everyone wanted to say to me. Aunt said, 'Mom, thank you. Because of you, I finished college and have such a fulfilling life now. James is being transferred back to the country, and I promise to go with him. Without you, I have nothing left to hold me here anymore.' Second sister and little brother are both doing well now, especially little brother who has changed a lot. If you know from beyond, you no longer need to worry about us. Mom, you once said I was the daughter you were most proud of, but in truth, having a mother like you makes us all proud." Second aunt said, "Mom, our family company is going public. Aren't I amazing? My husband will take care of this next month. It's a shame you didn't get to see it. Mom, you left so suddenly. I still feel a bit dazed when I think about it." Really? Second aunt couldn't help but throw herself on second uncle's shoulder, sobbing loudly. After crying for a while, she suddenly laughed. "Mom, isn't it strange? The more I look at that little girl Qian, The more I feel like I'm seeing you. After you passed away, her foolishness disappeared. Could it really be what you said, that she is you? Anyway, you can rest assured and go. You loved this girl so much in your life, and I will continue to love her for you in the days to come." My parents also knelt before the tombstone. My father was sobbing uncontrollably, slapping himself in the face over and over again. "Mom, I'm a jerk. I didn't take good care of you while you were alive. From now on, you keep an eye on me. If you ever see me acting less than human again, come and whip me in the middle of the night, in a corner where they couldn't see me." I silently shed tears. At 14, my parents led me through the school gates to start from elementary school, then I skipped grades all the way until high school. Everyone says I'm a genius, but I'm just a late bloomer. They also say I'm more mature than other kids my age. But sometimes I'm too mature, talking like an old lady. Even my dad looks at me differently now. He says he can't help but feel like kneeling when he sees me, reborn into this life. I've shed my timid and cowardly self from the past, living freely and without restraint. After all, when contentment overrides inferiority, happiness will permeate life. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My grandfather never listens to others and is accustomed to being arbitrary and domineering. With his statement, "It's useless for a girl to go to school," he deprived me of my right to education. My brother needed money for school, so they forced me to marry the lame man next door, Wang, and received a bride price of 300 yuan. On the day I gave birth, my mother-in-law refused to pay extra for a C-section, dragging it out until I bled to death. When I opened my eyes, I had returned to the critical moment of my fate. Grandfather sat cross-legged on the Kong. "Studying is for boys. What's a girl doing reading? The important thing is to marry early and help your brother. This time, I will absolutely not let him ruin my life." The clamor in my ears awakened my soul. I jolted awake, the pain in my body not yet fully faded. Grandfather glanced lightly over me, his gaze settling on his precious grandson. "Our family is poor, so this only chance for schooling must be given to the boy. Girls will just get married after finishing their studies, so sending her to school would be a waste of money." I remember my grandfather once said this. Suddenly looking up, glancing around, outside the window, green plants grow towards the sun, full of vitality. This time, I wasn't saddened by these words. Instead, "It's a surprise, I have been reborn." Dad sat on the wooden chair, and with the slightest movement, the chair creaked. Mom stood behind him, gently nudging father. A sharp gaze swept toward the mother, and he angrily scolded. "What are you, a woman, doing here listening? When have family matters ever been up to you to decide? Get out." Her hands, still red from washing clothes, gripped the rough linen tightly. Time had carved wrinkles into her face. With her head bowed, she walked away quietly, like someone of no importance. The face that should have been radiant and bright now only bore the marks of time. There was also hidden in her eyes a sense of endurance, unwillingness, and helplessness. Father's eyes flickered with heartache, but he still couldn't speak a word of fairness for mother. He just lowered his head, glancing at grandfather from the corner of his eye. "Dad, Luoyan's academic performance is still quite good. The teacher called me the other day and said that with her grades, she's sure to get into the best high school in the city." Grandpa's dark, heavy gaze pressed down, and in just an instant, Dad fell silent. "Which family in the village supports a girl in school for so long? It's already good enough to let her finish middle school and learn a few words, and you, thinking that a few years of schooling puts you above me. Let me tell you, I'm the one who runs this household." Dad didn't dare utter a word. His timid nature has not been a matter of just 1 or 2 days. In my previous life, he had also fought for me in this way, but after just one sentence, he no longer dared to argue with my grandfather, allowing him to dictate my fate. But I do not blame him. My father, who grew up in the countryside, had a few years of schooling and understood the value of education. It was truly remarkable that he fought for my right to learn. Indeed, few people possess the insight that my father had. In those days, the lives of girls were as cheap as grass. Only the boys in the family were treasured, and all resources were unconditionally directed toward them. And Grandpa also hoped that after my brother finished his studies, he would achieve great success and take him to the city to enjoy a good life. In my previous life, I accepted my fate and stopped fighting for the chance to study. But as I lay on the cold bed, feeling the blood flow from my body, that kind of excruciating pain was truly unforgettable. I don't want my fate to be manipulated like a puppet on strings, nor do I wish to reunite with the person I was in my past life. Therefore, I must seize this one and only chance to break free. If I remain timid and submissive, I deserve to be buried in the mud, never to rise again. I want to study, for short words. And all 3 men in the house turned to look at me at the same time. My younger brother Su Qiaorun crossed his arms and glanced dismissively at my face. For a girl like you, studying isn't as useful as it is for us boys. This time, I didn't back down. Grandpa, please let me go to school. I promise I'll study hard, get into a good high school, and repay the family when I grow up. Grandpa lit a cigarette, the smoke curling up. In the sunlight, it resembled a slowly rising golden veil. Fate was once like this, visible, yet impossible to grasp, but this time, I will fight with all my might to seize it. Don't think that just because you're doing well in school now, getting into high school is a sure thing. Even though Su Qiaorun's grades are a bit worse, he's still a boy, and his potential for a breakthrough is definitely stronger than yours. Whether our family can enjoy a better life in a big city in the future depends on your brother. Su Qiaorun was at the bottom of his grade, often skipping classes and cursing at teachers. He never did anything right, but wrongdoings came one after another. Even if I ranked in the top 5 of the class, in their eyes, I still couldn't compare to Su Qiaorun's intelligence and potential. Just marry into a family, ask for a bride price to support your brother's education and marriage. That's how you can repay the family. My brother chimed in gleefully. Exactly, you girls can't handle the hardship of studying, and besides, the family doesn't have spare money to support your education. I looked up at the three of them, apart from my father, whose expression was somewhat complicated. The other two were resolute in their stance. Grandpa, how much is a bride price anyway? If I work hard at my studies, I can tutor others with their homework. I've heard you can earn several dollars an hour, so a few $1,000s in bride price could be earned back in at most a year. Grandpa's stern face finally showed a hint of surprise. Several dollars? How is that possible? Exactly. Even if it's several dollars an hour, which family would hire a girl like you to teach? I looked at Su Qiaorun's ignorant face. Whether they hire you depends on academic performance, not gender. Su Qiaorun's face flushed red, and he held his breath without saying a word. Grandpa looked somewhat hesitant. It was as if he saw great value in me, and he wasn't as resolute as he had been at first. After a long while, he relented. I can let you go to school, but our family has no money. You'll have to figure out the expenses for your studies and living on your own. The family won't give you a single cent. At that moment, the warm, honey-colored light finally fell on my cheeks, illuminating my pale, bloodless face. Worried about making money, sitting under the moonlight, my mother cut open the patch sewn inside the cotton-padded jacket and pulled out a neatly folded, yellowed handkerchief. She carefully unfolded it, revealing several bills with curled edges. There were a few 1 yuan and 5 yuan notes, and at the very bottom lay an extremely precious 10 yuan bill. In addition, there were a few 1 jiao and 5 jiao coins. The moonlight fell on her cheeks, worn by time and full of wrinkles. She smiled. Mom has saved a bit of money over the years. Hide it, and make sure your grandfather doesn't find out. This isn't enough yet. You'll have to figure out the rest on your own. My hands trembled as I took the money, tears welling up in my eyes. Staring at the crisp 10 yuan bill, my vision blurred. In the countryside at that time, few people possessed such a large denomination of paper money. My mother was born into a family of scholars in the county town. From a young age, I was also taught to read many books. Later, when the family declined, she married my father. Otherwise, given my father's background, the two of them would have been worlds apart, with no connection whatsoever in this lifetime. In the years since marrying my father, she has endured many hardships. Coming from an intellectual family, Grandpa felt somewhat inferior and envious. Now, the once unattainable presence has become his daughter-in-law. Naturally, he wanted to suppress Mother's pride. He wanted to completely trample this well-bred lady into the mud, to thoroughly discipline her into an obedient and sensible good daughter-in-law. But I know, though her wings were broken, the pride in her heart remained. She often held me and told me stories from the book she had read. She told me that once an opportunity appeared, I must seize it and fly outward with all my might. At that time, I was still young and understood nothing, failed to live up to her teachings, willing to let my grandfather dictate my fate. But this time, I absolutely cannot let her down. Aunt Lee from next door came over to visit and brought a rooster with her. The surrounding crowing of the chickens couldn't drown out her silvery laughter at all. My younger brother welcomed her warmly, his eyes fixed unwaveringly on the chicken, drool dripping all over his mouth. Aunt Lee's eyes darted around, and she shoved the rooster into Su Qiaorun's arms. She looked at my father and grandfather. This big rooster is the fattest one in my house. I usually treasure it dearly and can't bear to eat it. Father chuckled. It's not the New Year or any holiday. Why is my sister-in-law sending us a big rooster? Father had a friendship with Aunt Lee's husband, Uncle Wang. After Uncle Wang passed away, he left behind an orphan and a widow to rely on each other. She was famously stingy in the village, going to any lengths to take advantage of others. In my previous life, She used this rooster to seal the marriage contract between me and her son, Wang the cripple. Later, she sent 300 yuan, completely buying out my future life. My life was worth no more than that. She put on a smile, her gaze fixed on my face. Beneath the gentle countenance lies calculation. In the blink of an eye, Luo Yan has grown so much, becoming more and more radiant. When will you come to my place for a meal? I'll make you some chicken soup. I take half a step back. Filled with anger and fear, in my previous life, I died because of her persistence and stubbornness. She refused to spend a single penny for my C-section and even caused a scene outside the operating room. Save the child, save the child. My precious grandson must not be harmed. At that moment, I knew she never cared whether I lived or died. She never treated me as a daughter, but merely as a tool for bearing her a grandson. Because of her stinginess, 2 lives were lost, in the end. She ended up with nothing. Grandfather immediately understood her intentions. Just say what you have to say. Look how well my son and your granddaughter match. They're both at the right age for marriage, so why not marry Luo Yan to my son? In those days, rural areas had a weak sense of the law, and people married very early. Teenagers could hold weddings and live together. Grandpa didn't speak, calculating the value in his heart. Dad looked at Grandpa's expression, hesitating to speak. Only Mom's eyes were filled with panic. Luo Yan is only 15, still young. She's not young anymore. It's the age to get married. You're not looking down on my son for being lame, are you? Don't worry, even though my son is lame, he knows how to care for people. If Luo Yan marries him, she definitely won't suffer any hardship. I chuckled. Do I know if I'm at a disadvantage or not? Dad spoke up. I'm afraid that won't be possible. Luo Yan still has to take the high school entrance exam this year. Ah, Atlee exclaimed, slapping the table with a loud bang. Bang, what's the point of a girl studying? Why waste that money? Isn't your son going to school anymore? Let them both go to school. This tuition is a huge sum of money. I mean, we're not exactly a wealthy family. How can we afford to send 2 children to school? She glanced at me sideways. All right then, I'll add another 300 as a betrothal gift. That should be enough for your son's tuition. Grandfather's expression softened a bit. Only Mother and I were still fighting for it. I won't get married. I want to study and earn money in the future to repay Grandpa, Dad, and Mom. How much money can a girl earn after studying? She'll just end up getting married and having children anyway. It's a waste of time. Our voices were ultimately drowned out by the voices of several grown men. My younger brother even clamored to eat the big rooster. Grandpa, feeling sorry for his precious grandson and unable to resist the temptation, nodded and agreed to the marriage. In an instant, the sky above my head collapsed. Grandpa, you promised me you would let me go to school. Grandpa sat on the Kong, never letting go of his cigarette. His eyes were sunken deep into their sockets, with wrinkled eyelids drooping down, staring straight at me. It was as if a hungry wolf had spotted a piece of plump meat, greedily unwilling to let go. Whether you can get into a good high school is still uncertain, and whether you can earn money to repay the family is also unclear. Why not take the benefits right in front of you now? Do you know how much that 300 yuan is? It's enough for your brother's tuition and living expenses for a whole semester. As an older sister, you should always put your brother first and not be so selfish. My heart sank. I desperately thought about how to save myself. My mother cried beside me. But you can't just sell my daughter for 300 yuan. When did you get to make decisions about family matters? Father comforted Mother from the side. Dad is doing this for Luo Yan's own good. He wants our daughter to have a good future. Is that cripple Wang a good future? How can you even say that? Grandfather scolded Father sternly. Control your wife. If you keep spoiling her, one day she'll be walking all over you. Grandpa. I raised my head, my gaze resolute. I want a life where I can make my own decisions, and I also want to be my mother's support. If I can earn that money, will you allow me not to marry and continue my studies? With what ability? Your father works himself to the bone and barely makes 50 yuan a month. What makes you think you can earn 300? Fine, if you manage to earn that 300, I won't force you to marry, and I'll even let you go to school. In the year of my previous life's marriage, Uncle Zhang from the village discovered a wild ginseng in the mountains. He sold it for a high price of 3,000 yuan, which shocked the entire village. Almost every household mobilized their members to search for wild ginseng. Only one family managed to find one, while the rest ended up with nothing. At that time, I also participated in this event, but I brought nothing back. I still remember Aunt Lee's expression. You useless thing, finding a wild ginseng is so difficult. You eat and drink off me every day. If it weren't for my son's lame leg, he would have found 10 or 8 of them, and our family would be rich. Upon hearing this, crippled Wang became furious. Limping, he picked up the broom and swung it at me. At 5 in the morning, as the rooster crowed, I got dressed and got out of bed. Picking up the iron shovel, I tucked away a few pieces of dry rations, filled 2 bottles of mineral water, and headed toward the mountain. I remember that Uncle Zhang most often went to the forest in the east. Along the way, I used stones to mark the path at regular intervals, but I still got lost, from dawn to dusk and then to sunset. I walked through many places but found no trace of wild ginseng. The pitch-black mountain forest made it impossible to see the path. I could only grope my way to a slope by the moonlight and curl up, praying not to encounter any wild beasts. I still have 2 pieces of dry rations and a bottle and a half of water in my pocket. These are my last means of survival. The wind, like a soul-sucking demon, wails mournfully in the night sky. My heart trembles, but I have no regrets. To be trapped is death, and to fail to find the wild ginseng is also to await death. Rather than living a meaningless existence for a few more years, it would be better to be buried in this mountain, and in the coming spring, to bloom with the lush green renewal of the forest. I would rather be a female eagle, soaring through the 9 heavens, and falling in the solitary wilderness. I refuse to be imprisoned in a cage, to be observed and toyed with. The first rays of morning sunlight fall on my face, dispelling the chill in my heart. I eat half a piece of dry rations and continue onward. 3 days and 3 nights, almost exhausted. Heaven rewards the diligent, and I found the wild ginseng. Dig the soil deep, and slowly uncover it with your hands. A small wild ginseng lay in my palm, and tears welled up in my eyes. Relying on memories from my past life, I boarded the village passenger bus heading to the county town. The boss took advantage of my young age and only offered 800. I didn't dwell on it. After replenishing my energy, I returned to the countryside. This trip took another 2 days. I took out 500 yuan. And the rest of the money was wrapped in rags and hidden in the soil of the mountain forest. When I got home, my mother hugged me tightly as if she were going crazy. His hair was half white, and his face had many more wrinkles. It was as if he had aged 10 years. Where have you been all these days? I thought you. As he spoke, a series of sobs followed. Guilt reached its peak in my heart. I comforted my mother, vowing to study hard and take her to the city for a better life. Grandfather, father, and younger brother stood behind, each with a different expression. Father did not scold me, but he also did not speak. I noticed that his hair had also turned a few strands white. My younger brother, on the other hand, looked somewhat pale and plump, with yellow grease stains around his mouth. He must have taken advantage of my absence to slaughter and eat the chicken that Entley had given to our family. I thought you were going to run away. You scared me to death. I've already eaten that chicken, and if you ran off, our family wouldn't have a chicken to return to Entley. Grandfather's expression turned serious. You little rascal, how dare a girl like you run around outside? Aren't you afraid of running into bad people? Bad people, aren't you the bad people? You forced me to take desperate measures. We've already accepted Entley's money. Pack your things, and I'll take you to her house later. From now on, you'll be part of her family. I stood up. Looking directly at them, you said that if I earned this money, you wouldn't force me to marry, and you'd let me continue my studies. I opened my hand, and 500 yuan appeared in my palm. In an instant, the air froze, only the sound of heavy breathing. Where did you get so much money? Tell me, where did you steal it from? This is money I earned myself. Impossible. How could a girl like you earn so much money? The moment Grandpa denied it, his anger surged, and his finger pointing at me trembled uncontrollably. You shameless thing, you must have gone out and done something bad, right? 5 whole days. Tell me, how many men did you find? My father and mother were even more terrified, their faces ashen, though my mother had an extra layer of despair. As I listened, I felt anger in my heart, but even more so, disappointment. The world is unfair to women. It's taken for granted when men earn money, but when women do, it's assumed they've sold their bodies. Why does such discrimination arise among fellow human beings? This is the money I earned from selling wild ginseng. I went to the county town these past few days, and here are the bus tickets for the trip. I showed them the receipt. Grandpa's younger brother was stunned, Mom and Dad visibly relaxed, and when they looked at me, there was an extra touch of admiration. The news that I had earned 500 yuan in 5 days reached Aunt Lee's ears. Entley stormed into my house, took back the betrothal gifts, and even demanded an extra 10 yuan as compensation for the rooster my family had eaten. She looked at me with disdain, sneering. She curled her lips and said, "Oh, I really didn't know your daughter was so capable, able to leave the city on her own and even get her hands on 500 yuan. Who knows what shady business she's been up to." My mother defended me. "Don't you dare slander my Luo Yen. She earned that money by digging up wild ginseng. Wild ginseng, how come I've never seen it in the mountains? Did she just get lucky and dig it up? Is there any witness?" The whole family was left speechless by the retort, and indeed, I had no evidence to present. I wouldn't dare marry such a capable daughter-in-law. Who knows, she might end up cheating on my son one day. I sneered mockingly. Entley, sour grapes, huh? If you can't do it yourself, you should look for the reasons within. Instead of assuming everyone else is as incompetent and ignorant as you, Aunt Lee pointed at me, even if you did dig it yourself, so what? There must have been a man helping you, otherwise, you could never have earned this much. Such thinking is deeply ingrained here, and it's even widely spread. A woman's achievements are often overshadowed by scandalous gossip. They say behind every successful woman stands a man, and that you only make money because of a powerful man. And the world doesn't care about right or wrong. What they choose to believe is never the truth, but what they want to believe. I will no longer tolerate her unreasonable behavior. Get out, or I won't mind using a stick to drive you away. Aunt Lee was so angry she went crazy, cursing and leaving. From then on, my deeds spread throughout the village. 3 people make a tiger. Even a lie can be described vividly and convincingly. They dragged a perfectly innocent person into the mud. No one dared to propose marriage to my family. I was also quite content with my carefree life. On the first day of the new semester in 9th grade, I put on my backpack and sat in the long unseen classroom. The sound of reading was always much more pleasant than the dirty gossip at the village's ends. The scent of ink and paper was far more fragrant than the sour and foul odors emanating from people. I cherished every minute and second, using even break time for studying. I would go home and burn the midnight oil, to avoid disturbing my family's rest. I sat outside the house, accompanied by the moonlight, but every night, a beam of light would always shine from my mother's room, staying on all night long. Finally, I was admitted to the best high school in the city. Su Qiaorun didn't get in. My grandfather scraped together 2,000 yuan by selling everything he had, and Su Qiaorun paid his own way to attend the same high school as me. The day before the trip, Grandpa's complexion finally looked much better. He no longer glared at me coldly, nor did he resort to insults anymore. He patted my hand and advised, "The city isn't as warm as home. Who says, take good care of yourself when you're away. Even though you and your brother were born together, he's still younger than you. As the older sister, you should look after your brother well." Before leaving, he generously gave me $50 and gave my brother $200, but I don't mind anymore. With this $50, I still have $23.35. With my qualifications, I'm definitely the richest person in the village. Grandpa looked at me again. "Spend it wisely. Boys are precious and need the good stuff. If his money isn't enough, you can help your brother out a bit." I smiled. 50 yuan to help out with 200 yuan. Grandpa looked at his younger brother, full of anticipation. "You have great potential, study hard, and you can easily surpass your sister's grades. In the future, we'll rely on you to take our family to the city to enjoy a good life." His younger brother patted his chest and promised, "No problem, it's a piece of cake, I can handle it easily." It wasn't until we arrived in the county town that we realized there are always people better than you. And skies beyond the sky. My grades are only impressive within the village. In this area with abundant educational resources, I am just an ordinary student. I was assigned to a regular class, Su Qiaorun, because his family pulled some strings and paid money, got into the key class for cultivation. At that moment, I felt an unprecedented sense of disparity. Some people are born to be lifted up by their entire family, while others can only rely on themselves. Some may even have their wings clipped. They were destroyed, leaving them without the ability or ambition to soar. But what do these things matter? My life is not something that can be dictated by a few words from others, nor can it be carelessly broken by them. Even if broken, I will strive to grow flesh and blood, and soar toward the blue sky. When assigning seats, Teacher Yin placed students from the county town in the front rows, while those from rural areas were assigned to the back. He doesn't care that I'm much shorter. Pointing to the last row, "I've long enjoyed being treated unfairly, long endured various injustices, and I won't get angry or drain myself over it. Being able to study is enough, even if it means studying in an unfair environment." But reality was far more terrifying than I had imagined. Those self-funded county students were idle and undisciplined, talking and fooling around in the front rows. Many teachers also didn't want to get into trouble, turning a blind eye to it. In contrast, students from rural areas were the ones who studied diligently, because we knew this might be our only chance to leave the mountains. I went to Teacher Yin to ask for a seat change. He just glanced at me casually and said, "You want to sit in the front, but everyone wants to sit in the front. How can we decide?" "But teacher, the students in the front are so noisy during class that I really can't hear the teacher's voice." "That's your own problem. Look at Lu Yuanqing next to you. He's a student from the village next to yours. Why doesn't he have so many issues?" He spoke, and only then did I notice the male classmate sitting next to me, buried in his studies. "Hello, classmate." Lu Yuanqing glanced at me with a cold gaze, then quickly looked down again. His handsome face bore an expression that kept strangers at a distance. "What is it?" "I'm from the village next to yours." Get to the point. Truly a cold personality. Can you hear the teachers lecturing class? No. Then how do you study? I see your grades have always been good, and you haven't fallen behind in your schoolwork. He turned a page of the book, his pen continuing to scribble and sketch on the scratch paper. If I don't understand something, I ask the teacher after class. If the teacher is busy, I study it on my own. Is this even possible? Truly worthy of being the top student in the class. The next second, a book slammed heavily onto his head. Liu Yuanqing, still reading after class. Who are you trying to impress? Three tall boys approached mockingly. Your family is so poor, and you think studying can change your situation. I'm telling you, you're dreaming. The leading boy made a surprise attack, tearing open Liu Yuanqing's school uniform. In that instant, I saw a flash of panic in his eyes, which were usually so composed. Under the school uniform was a patched-up, tattered linen shirt. After repeated scrubbing, some areas have been worn down to a thin layer, through which the skin inside can faintly be seen. See, this guy is just a poor kid. His family spent all their savings to send him to school, and now he only dares to eat half a steamed bun a day. Liu Yuanqing's eyes turned red as they continued to flaunt their arrogance. People like you, even if you study for a lifetime, will never surpass us. Your poor and lowly fate only qualifies you to serve us like cattle and horses, making a name for yourselves. Ha, that's hilarious. My fist clenched, and so did his. We were both trembling imperceptibly, only he kept his head down without a word. While I resolutely met the bully's gaze, I let out a mocking remark. Class is always there, but you may not always be in it. In an instant, Liu Yuanqing raised his head, his gaze burning intensely. The bully avoided eye contact. Since you're just a little girl, I won't make a big deal out of it, but let me give you some advice. Don't hang out with poor people. You wouldn't want to marry into a family where you can't even afford to eat, would you? If you're interested, you can come to me. My family has money. I'm sorry, I don't want to hang out with you. When I make friends, I don't care about their family background, only their character. The three of them flushed with anger and slunk away under my contemptuous gaze. Liu Yuanqing sat at the table, his face flushed. After a long while, he finally met my gaze. You are very brave. I don't have the courage to confront them like you do, Liu Yuanqing. We have nothing to lose anyway, so I fear taking a risk. He stared at me in a daze. In the gaze I missed, there was a raging fire burning. I took the book and went to find Teacher Yin. Didn't I explain this question in class? If you don't pay attention, why come to ask me? His eyes swept over me twice, with a hint of disdain. For rural girls like you, even if you're taught, you'll just go back to take care of your husband and children. What's the use of learning this? After saying that, she stared at my face for a moment. Your looks are decent. Well, that Dazhuang in our class comes from a fairly good family. If you're interested, I can introduce you to. For a moment, I was stunned. Since when did a place for teaching and nurturing become a matchmaking agency? Moreover, that Dazhuang is overweight and shorter than the shortest girl in the class, either inherited or diseased. From childhood, I have always held teachers in high regard, but this time, I realized that not all teachers are gardeners who nurture and educate. A profession cannot conceal one's personal character. Teacher, I'm here to study, not to find a partner. I'll just pretend I didn't hear what you said. Are you getting too full of yourself? Teacher Yin, that's going too far. Across from them, Teacher Liu, who taught the advanced class, looked stern. As a teacher, one should focus on teaching and nurturing students, not meddling in their personal lives. She looked at me with gentle eyes. I know it's incredibly difficult for a girl to break free from the mountains. The fact that you've made it out proves your perseverance and talent are exceptional. Stay true to your own ideas and don't let others' words sway you. I felt deeply grateful. Receiving recognition from such an outstanding teacher filled me with an unprecedented sense of excitement. The gaze directed at her was unprecedentedly intense. A goal spontaneously arose in my heart. Teacher Liu, I want to join your class. Teacher Liu's gaze paused, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. Before she could speak, Teacher Yin sneered first. Just you, do you even know what the term key class means? We tacitly ignored Teacher Yin. Teacher Liu responded with a smile. All right, at the end of the semester, there's an opportunity to change classes. The top 3 students in the class can transfer to the key class, but even if you make it into the key class, you'll need to work hard because the bottom 3 will be moved to the regular class. Okay, teacher, I'll definitely work hard. Okay, I'll wait for you. The moment I finished speaking, a knock sounded at the door. Teacher, a boy walked in. It was Liu Yuanqing. He held a book in his hand, his gaze sweeping over me indifferently. Teacher, I didn't quite understand this question. Looking closely, I saw it was the very question that had been puzzling me. Teacher Yan's gaze was gentle, his eyes filled with deep affection for Liu Yuanqing. This question. Let me explain it to you. I stood nearby, listening quietly. And only after the explanation did I walk back to the classroom side by side with Lu Yuanqing. Thank you, why thank me? I looked at the scratch paper he had worked on and pointed to one spot. Last time I asked you, I saw you were working on this exact problem. You had already solved it, yet you still went to ask the teacher. He avoided my gaze, feeling guilty. I wasn't sure if it was right. Anyway, I want to thank you. Lunch is on me today. His eyes widened, filled with delight, but soon dimmed again. No, I'm not short on money. I pretended to be regretful. I actually had something to ask of you, but now I don't dare to bring it up. What is it? Let's go eat first. I'll talk to you when I get back. It's settled, my treat. No, a woman's word is as good as gold. Teacher Yin isn't too fond of girls studying. If you don't understand something in the future, just ask me. If I don't know, I'll go ask him and then teach it to you. He sat at the dining table, feeling a bit uneasy in front of the lavish spread of dishes. What a coincidence. I was just about to bring this up with you. I shared my idea with him, which was essentially that he would teach me on Saturdays and Sundays, and I would pay him for it. He froze, looking at me with great surprise. Where did you get so much money? Don't worry about it. Are you going to teach me or not? He hesitated for a moment but eventually made up his mind. I'll teach you. Then we both need to work hard and try to get into the advanced class. Otherwise, if I make it to the advanced class and you're not there, I'll find someone else. He crossed his arms and sneered. I'm the top student in the class. You should be thinking about what you'll do if I leave and you're still stuck here. I shrugged. The pressure's on you. If you don't get me into a top-tier class, I'll have no choice but to find someone else. Lu Yuanqing was speechless. He had never seen such a shameless person like me. After the final exams ended, Su Qiaorun and I returned to the countryside. The villagers gathered around us, asking about our studies. Qiaorun is really promising, studying in the city now. Our village has finally produced an educated person. How did Qiaorun do on the final exams this time? They only remember me after asking Su Qiaorun. It's okay if you don't do well on the exam. After all, you're a girl. You can just find someone to marry when the time comes. I have confidence. As soon as the words were spoken, several elderly women started exclaiming, Oh, Luo Yin seems quite confident. I always say girls shouldn't read too many books. It makes them less humble. Look how high her ambitions are now. She'll probably think she can reach the sky next. It'll be hard for her to get married in the future. She'll look down on this one and that one, with such high standards. She won't be able to find a husband. I smiled and replied, I feel sorry for you. Good things never seem to come your way, and the only thing you can rely on is marrying the right person, betting that your husband will treat you well. But are you really living a good life? As soon as the words left my mouth, the women present fell silent. I wanted to speak, but after a long while, I couldn't find the words, so I simply closed my mouth. I'm not as patient as you aunts and elders. I can't endure hardship, and I can't bear being beaten or scolded. From now on, I can rely on my own hands to make a living, or I can find someone who truly cares for me to work hard together. The kind of marriage I want is not one where one side suppresses the other. That's not a marriage. It's a master-slave relationship. Your way of life is not what I want, and I will never become like you. As soon as the words were spoken, they lowered their heads. Most people glanced at me secretly, with resentment and shame, but my mother's eyes were filled with excitement and pride. The phone rang, announcing the final exam scores. Everyone gathered around. Su Qiaorun, Chinese 63, Math 32, English, total score 213, last in the class. Will be transferred to the regular class next semester. Those who had just praised Su Qiaorun wore expressions of embarrassment, and even Grandpa couldn't hide his discomfort, only managing to smooth things over with a smile. Boys have more potential later on. One failed exam isn't a big deal. Next, my grades were announced, and everyone fell silent, eager to see just how impressive the arrogant me really was. Su Luoyan, Chinese 112, Math 114, English, total score 654, second in the class. Transferred to the advanced class next semester. The air froze once again. Embarrassment appeared on their faces, with only my mother cheering and celebrating for me. My younger brother was furious. He, who had always prided himself on his self-respect, simply couldn't bear the news of being removed from the advanced class and losing the capital to show off. In a fit of anger, he ran back to his room and refused to see anyone. Meanwhile, I was surrounded by a crowd. You'll probably get into a good university in the future, right? Will you become a teacher then? I've heard teachers are quite impressive. The one family's daughter from the neighboring village moved her whole family to the city to enjoy a better life after becoming a teacher. How come your grades are so much better than your brothers? I thought girls weren't as good at studying as boys. I smiled and replied, that's just people's prejudice. If you send your daughters to school, They might not do any worse than me, who knows, they could be the next Wang family's daughter, bringing you to the city to enjoy a good life. Oh, my girl isn't capable of that. Mainly, we don't have that much money. I didn't respond. I know it's difficult to get girls to attend school in the village, but no matter how hard it is, I will quietly plant the seed of hope in their hearts, waiting for the right moment to take root and sprout. That way, countless girls trapped at home can step out, breathe fresh air, and find their own lives. Both Liu Yuanqing and I were admitted to the advanced class. In the days that followed, we helped each other and our grades steadily improved. After the college entrance exam, we both got into top-tier universities, chose our dream schools, and headed toward an unknown future. I thought we would lose contact after that, until one day, we met at an internet company. He froze, looking at me with the joy of a long-awaited reunion. What a coincidence. You work at this company too? Yes, I didn't expect you to be here either. He straightened his clothes and extended his hand. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Liu Yuanqing, and I'm very happy to be your colleague. Hands tightly clasped, as if recalling the countless days and nights we once struggled through. The internet rose and developed rapidly. I seized the opportunity to switch to e-commerce, made a fortune, and took the chance to bring my mother to live in the city. After graduating, my younger brother has been idle at home and still hasn't found a wife. Grandpa was so worried that he fell ill, and Dad was too concerned to leave, staying in the countryside to take care of him. Mom said that Grandpa feels very guilty. Guilt almost destroyed you once. My heart didn't waver in the slightest. Crocodile tears won't make me forgive you. I can only try hard not to recall, not to get hurt again. Mom also said that when she left, several aunts and grannies in the village were extremely envious. They kept praising me for being filial and successful. They envy you, saying they wish their own children could be as accomplished as you. Some regret not letting their daughters continue their education. Others are starting to consider whether they should send their daughters to school. Their hearts are in turmoil at this moment. Tears stream down the cheeks. I know. When the first role model appears in the village, everyone thinks it's luck, but when the second role model appears, that becomes the hope everyone envies and chases. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.